Hey everyone, the Dark Knaik is here. My Friend Dahmer is a graphic novel based on one of America's notorious serial killers, Jeffrey Dahmer. The book was written by John Derf Backderf and published under Abrams ComicArts. As the name indicates, Derf had personally known Dahmer, and through this book, he recollects and highlights some eye-openers about the old times spent at Eastview Junior High and Revere High School, where they were classmates. After the death of Dahmer, Derf made extensive research through classmates, journals, news, and interviews that stretched to almost 20 years. When Derf was prepared to shape his fact-finding and exploration into a book of around 200 pages, Abrams Books decided to publish it in 2012. The writing of My Friend Dahmer took a few rounds. Derf wrote My Friend Dahmer back in 1995. It was an 8-page comic strip that was published 2 years later in the 18th issue of 00 series of Fantagraphics books. Then Derf decided to rewrite it full length. Then he self-published 24-page comic. The book is not just a graphic novel, but also Derf's personal memoir, and to some extent critically a psychological case study about Dahmer's personal life. By reading it, it may look like as if Dahmer is backed by the author and shows sympathy, but Derf actually points out what were the causes that unfortunately misled Dahmer to a path where he never turned his back and looked behind once he walked away. For those who have watched Dahmer on Netflix, starring Evan Peters, reading this book about Jeffrey Dahmer is totally a different experience. The show was dramatized from Dahmer's narrative and thus focused on his crimes, his motives, and his victims. This book covers a lot of incidents that reflect Dahmer's isolation, loneliness, silence, disturbance, and difficulties. My Friend Dahmer abandons the hatred and outcries over Jeffrey Dahmer's horrific crimes, and in very smart writing, the author successfully complains. Where were the people when Jeffrey Dahmer needed them? The people include his parents, Lionel and Joyce. Where were the others who could have guided him instead of shutting him down? Where was the decency when the classmates bullied him? He was let down by everyone. The book confirms, and the author indirectly admits, that he himself, along with his friends, made a joke out of him instead of helping him out. He does admit, the author does admit, that he wanted to help him, but he couldn't. In a way, it is kind of a double standard that Derf somehow blames the others, but he also belonged to the same kind who didn't shoulder him, but decided to make a joke out of him and bullied him. Maybe he realized later when he committed the crimes. The readers are believed to have considered their reading experience of My Friend Dahmer to be haunting. Maybe my mental capacity is too strong enough to not consider it haunting or scary. But I think people, readers who are not hypersensitive or too soft, can read this book. Maybe the readers get disturbed over looking at the pictures of dead animals, especially when Dahmer madly chops a tiny fish, or when you look at a mutilated dog carcass. But I reason the book to be less haunting because the book doesn't illustrate horrific crimes that Jeffrey Dahmer committed after leaving the school. And my first understanding about reading this book, My Friend Dahmer, was picturizing his crimes in broad detailing will be the case, but not at all. I will specially praise the artwork of the book. Penciling the black and white drawings reminds me of the good old mini comic strips of the old newspapers that used to start someone's morning with a cup of coffee. I think this was a perfect idea to keep the presentation this way. Every picture showing Dahmer mimicking the slurred speech of someone with cerebral palsy was accurately drawn. That gives the reader an impression that maybe the author, Derf, closely observed Dahmer's mimicking because he acted that way most of the time. It looked like an exaggeration, but I think Derf wanted the readers to show this strange character of Dahmer, that he had no other choice of humor to fun around with friends, but to stick with the only comical act he got recognition around. But Dahmer deserves the praise for establishing the reading impact. After many pictures of the mimicry, the readers come to know that Dahmer was actually mimicking his own mother. It was a sad revelation when Dahmer's mother permanently leaves him and isolates him when Dahmer needed her the most, when Dahmer's depression alarms. My Friend Dahmer is a valuable source of understanding disturbing teenagers. If a student, teacher, or a principal of any educational institution reads this book, My Friend Dahmer, will surely consider backing, helping, or assisting such kids in their lives before they turn into Dahmer. I will recommend reading My Friend Dahmer, which has around 270 pages in the book, because besides 5 parts, a preface, a prologue, and an epilogue, that book also contains extra detailing about the making of this book and an explanation about a few important pages and some bonus materials. One valid question that breaks after reading this non-fiction book is, who was responsible for making Dahmer a monster? It's not a mystery, but curiosity. He wasn't an orphan, nor did he lack the necessities of life. He wasn't poor, nor did he belong to some lower class background. His father was a chemist, and the family lived in some mid-century modern home standing at nearly 2,200 square feet back in 1968. After watching Netflix show and then reading this book, I understand that Dahmer was a society reject who was cancelled by almost everyone for his being visibly odd or awkward. In most cases, people usually like to hang around with those who are jolly, funny, friendly, and very extroverted. And Dahmer carried none of those traits. No one was interested to understand Dahmer's problems, not even his own parents, because they were busy in abusing, blaming, arguing, and fighting with each other. No teacher considered being his psychologist. Backderf and other friends used his mimicking and earned some money. He was cornered by everyone, and therefore the human contact distancing from him broke him and ignited him. An anger that will have scary consequences and will bring fear to the society. The madness that he committed is unexplainable. But this is how the fever starts. The pain instills. His silence became cancer. He moved onto the path that would turn him into evil. People around him failed him. I'm Sami Knaik.